Mypark, the biggest mode in 2K history, and arguably the biggest mode of any sports game ever. So many things unique about it, making your own player, walking around, playing games, all the rewards that you can get. But where did it all start, and how did it become the way it is today? This is the evolution of Mypark, going all the way back to the beginning in 2K14 up to today, which is 2K19. So many things have changed, so many things have been put into the game, so many things have been taken out. It is definitely a big evolution. Don't forget to drop a like down below, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Let's get right into it. And we start with NBA 2K14. This was the first game on next gen, the first game on Xbox One and PS4, and it was the start of a new era for 2K. So to go along with that, they introduced Mypark. It was the first version of it, and it was unique. It was something nobody had seen before. You could make your own My Player that was already in the game. You could upgrade him to the way you wanted to play. You could buy your own clothes, and then you could hop in the park where you could walk around. You could hop on courts and play. You could play with your friends. You could play with randoms. It was just unique. It was innovative. Just this whole open world kind of concept, was huge. Park started off very simple, very different from the way it is today. There was one park, and the park was actually pretty nice. It looked realistic. There was all these buildings around it. There was trees, and also there were a bunch of different courts. There's twos, there's threes. There's this big 5v5 court in the middle of the park. But there were no affiliations, and there was no rep system. So very, very simple. And there were also no badges. You had these things called signature styles that you would equip on your player, which kind of acted like badges. Park was in its infancy. It started off very casual. The gameplay was very arcadey. You actually had the scoreboard on the side of the games. There were a lot of glitches. There was definitely a lot of cheese. People could throw lobs from across the whole court and catch it. And people weren't really tryharding like that. It was a very casual game. You would just hop on and try to have fun. There's no real meta, so it's not like everybody is making this build or doing this and that. There are a ton of animations that we never get to see in 2K anymore, just because this one was such an arcade style game. Just crazy contact dunk animations, lob animations, jumping over people. There's just a bunch of stuff that we never get to see now. But since it was new, people didn't really have high expectations for it. People loved it, even though there was a lot of glitches. Personally, I never got to play it, and I know a lot of people also didn't get to either, mainly because a lot of people didn't buy the new consoles when they first came out, which is when 2K14 came out, and also Park just in general wasn't that popular. Now we get into NBA 2K15. By far the biggest step up in Park that we've ever had. We went from one park to 7. Yes, 7 different parks. We had affiliations, the River City Rough Riders, the Old Town Flyers, and the Sunset Beach Ballers. And with every affiliation, you got your own park. And then you also had the stage where people could play for VC. You had the High Rollers where people could play for even more VC. And you had the Rec Center, a lot of people's all-time favorite mode or park or anything in any 2K ever. It was this indoor thing, had 4 courts, it was 5v5, you could walk around, you could wear your own clothes, and you could just chill, you could play. And to go along with that, we also had rival days, so the affiliations would all compete with each other. This was kind of an ongoing tournament, on the weekends, and after a few months, whoever won the most rival days by getting the most wins would get a new park. So Old Town ended up winning, and they got a new park. So 7 different parks. So you also had the introduction to the rep system. It was a whole new level system just for playing Park, and with this rep system, you had Rookie, Pro, All-Star, and Legend, and 3 tiers for each one. And with this rep system, you also had rep rewards. There are a ton of different rep rewards, from wearing clothes to being shirtless to, at Legend 3, which is the highest rep, getting mascots. So this was the first time we got to see mascots in 2K, and you got to play as them. It was pretty easy to rep up though. To hit Legend 3, it was about 2,000 park games, getting a pretty good teammate grade. And some people already have 2,000 park games in 2K19 already. So by the end of the year, everybody who played 2K, just a decent amount would have Legend 3 and would be able to play as a mascot. There were leaderboards, so you got to see who was the top rep, and every affiliation had its own thing to go with it. So for example, Rivet, when you would dunk, the screen would shake. Old Town, when you dribble, the ball would be looking like it was going super fast. And Sunset, the ball would actually catch on fire when you would shoot. There were no archetypes. Again, you just got to upgrade your player however you want it, and that's how we played. It was the first time we had badges in the game, and in terms of the gameplay, it was the cheesiest park game ever. It was the most arcade cheesy park game play. I don't know what you want to call it. It was just crazy, super cheesy, and people would just keep going back and forth until they got a little bit open, even though, to be honest, it was contested. But they would be a little bit open, and they would green every shot. At least that's what all the tryhards did. Not everybody would do that. Again, there were a lot of arcadey animations in the game, and this is where you start to see a lot of glitches and a lot of toxic things in the game. For example, if you were losing the game, you could literally go back to the back of the court and like throw the ball as if you're shooting a full court shot, and it would get stuck in the other team's basket. So the game would just never end. It would just be stuck there. And another glitch we had was the demigod glitch. That's where the whole demigod term comes from, 2K15, because there was actually a demigod glitch. You could have a 7'2" point guard that just had maxed everything. It's the most overpowered glitch in any 2K ever. They never ended up patching it. Everybody either had demigods or a 7-foot small forward. And it was also the first time we got to see custom jump shots, because the demigods could get custom jump shots. So it wasn't legit, but like, I guess cheating, you could get it. Most people just thought it was fun. A lot of people would say it was the most fun 2K ever. Not the best in terms of the gameplay, because the gameplay was broken, but it was fun, if that makes sense. Super cheesy, super arcadey. This is also where people started to really like try hard. People started try harding because they had the high rollers, you had the stage. Like, people would play for VC. Not the biggest skill gap, but it was fun at the end of the day. I never got to really play this either. Unfortunately, I didn't even get an Xbox One until like April of that year. I played like less than 10 park games. I barely remember it that much, and I definitely didn't take it seriously. I was mainly just focused on my career. It was the first time me getting 2K on next gen. But park started to get bigger at this point. In 2K14, it wasn't that popular. 2K15, since they added all of this stuff in the game, a lot of people just started to play it, and park started becoming huge. Next, we have NBA 2K16. This game was so good, man. It was a great 2K. We had 5 parks, the affiliations were back, and the parks were really, really creative. Like, Sunset was in this like resort / water park. It had a volcano water slide and a big shark tank. It was by the beach. Old Town was in an amusement park. Rivet was in a rivet factory. Like, that's pretty creative. 2K definitely stepped it up with the parks, even though there wasn't that many. There was no high rollers. You still had stage 24/7. But Rival Day was back, same 3 affiliations, and Rivet ended up winning it and getting a new park, which was on top of a skyscraper, or in between 2 skyscrapers, which was amazing. Like, in my opinion, that's the best park 2K's ever made in any game. They tried to replace the rec center with Pro-Am walk-on. Like, we all know they failed with that. It just wasn't the same. They added the 21 court to Rivet and Old Town. That was trash. The rep system was even better. It was the same kind of tiers, but instead of 3, they had 5 for each one. So the highest rep was Legend 5. At Legend 4, you would get a skateboard, so you could move around the park super fast. It's way faster than all the skateboards we have now. And at Legend 5, you got a tiger. Yes, a tiger. So 2K was looking great. They kept going up. Their games kept getting better. It was much harder to rep up, but they also had a really good leaderboard system. So as you were going to the park, you could see the top 3 people for your affiliation, and you could also have leaderboards for like assists, points, rebounds, blocks, all of that stuff. You also got to see house rules for the first time, so it worked like Rival Day. It would just come to whatever park was there, and house rules worked differently back then. So it would just be one rule for the whole event. So it was like, I don't know, double dunks, or like there were games where everything was 1 point. We got a new stage, and eventually they replaced the 500 court with the 10K court, just because they didn't add high rollers. But what they did do is add a jackpot. So every time you played stage, you had a chance at winning the jackpot, or just winning like 25%, 50%, 3 times the VC. You guys know what that is. And the way they did the rep system was also different. So if you were in the affiliation that won Rival Day and you got the most wins for them, you got automatic Legend 5. Yes. So if you were in Rivet City and you had the most wins for Rivet, they just gave you Legend 5. The first Legend 5 on Xbox was actually just a Legend 5 2K handed to them. This is also where we got to see the introduction, I guess, leaning towards the archetype system. You had play styles, inside, outside, and balanced. All the best players, had outside players, because outside players weren't like pure sharpshooters or whatever we have now. They could do everything. They could still dunk, they could still dribble, they could definitely play defense. It was great. The best defense in any gameplay ever. You could grind for any badge in the game and get it on gold. The gameplay was amazing because it had the biggest skill gap out of any 2K. Everybody was relatively the same sort of players. It wasn't too arcadey, but it also wasn't too simulation. And anything you could do, everybody else could too. So there's not like archetypes where, oh, he's a pure shot creator, so he's gonna make every fading shot, and I can't do that. The dribbling was great. It wasn't just this back and forth anymore. We had speed boosting. Unfortunately, they did end up patching it in like May, but even then, the dribbling still wasn't that bad. Another thing that a lot of people might remember is we actually got rep boosts. Yes, 2K would just boost your rep. The reason they did this is because there was a bunch of glitches in the game. For example, there was a mascot glitch where you could just get a mascot even if you weren't Legend 3, and if you didn't do the glitch, they would actually reward you by giving you a rep boost. I remember them doing this at least twice. I couldn't imagine 2K doing something like this now. Like, hey, drop a like if we should get a rep boost. That would be dope, wouldn't it? The meta for 2K16 was like an outside point guard and outside center on the 2s, or 2 outside point guards and an outside center on the 3s. You also had the forest court, which was just in Sunset. I'm not gonna gonna lie, people didn't really play that, but it was fun once in a while. And if you were really good at rebounding with a guard, you could just replace the center. You know, people would run 2 guards or 3 guards on the 2s and 3s. This was the peak of 2K, you know, great gameplay, great parks, new content throughout the year. It was really the peak, you know, my personal favorite 2K, and I played it the most out of any other 2K. Next, we're in to NBA 2K17, and things started to take a turn. They started off by giving us the same 3 parks as 2K16. We got the same 3 parks, you know, they made minimal changes to them. So after that, everybody already had a bad impression on the game. It was so bad that people thought that they were trolling us. Like, they actually thought that they were trolling because they were allegedly supposed to give us this Mypark trailer, which they never ended up giving us. And everybody was like, oh, yo, these are just the parks because, you know, people had the game early and they didn't want anybody to leak the real parks, so they're giving us the real parks when the game actually comes out. And we all know what happened. You know, we got the same 3 parks and we never got new ones. And of course, you know, there were glitches here and there in 2K16. I wouldn't say that completely destroyed 2K's reputation. You know, they came out with a couple bad patches in that game as well, but in 2K17, people started to hate 2K. They were like, why would they do this? You know, they're making a terrible game. You have to spend all this VC, stuff like that. They tried to give us a park event called Park After Dark. That was probably the biggest fail 2K's ever done. To sum it all up, it just didn't work. Like, everybody was lagging out of every game. It's like you couldn't move. It was just a total disaster. They also introduced park events, so they had Mountain Dew, which was a cool concept. To win, you basically have to play 3s and never lose for 5 hours. Yeah, long time, 5 hours. Only problem is, everybody just boosted, and since 2K was so disconnected from the community, they didn't even find out until it was too late. They also turned Rival Day and house rules into park events as well. Honestly, nobody played that either. Every park in the game was also recycled, so Mountain Dew was the old town from 2K15. Rival Day and house rules were both the new old town, and the stage was recycled from 2K16. Stage was also a park event as well. You know, it was limited. People really wanted 24/7 stage, but they did bring back high rollers. It was once a month, and it was 5 times the VC as stage. We also got double rep weekends. You know, this would usually be on holidays. The rep system was relatively the same, except for changing the names of like the legend reps to superstar and then making one last rep at the end, which was just legend. All the rep rewards were basically the same, except for at superstar 5 you got a jetpack, and that was actually really cool. Everybody was surprised by it. It was just called Take Flight, so nobody really knew what it was, and it was a jetpack in a basketball game. Unfortunately, legend, you got immortalized. Nobody really knew what that was. Turned out just to be your name on a wall, so that was just a huge L. There was no leaderboards, but you could see your own rank and, for example, Sunset, so your affiliation, or just your all-time park rank. They also added a few mascots, so at Superstar 3 you would get more options for buying mascots, but it was the hardest rep system ever. So few people hit legend. It was like 12,000 park games getting at least 80 teammate grades every game. And of course, we have the best feature of 2K17, the Paul George screen. Nah, I'm joking. It was trash. Like, on PS4, you would have to wait 30 minutes to play the game. It would take 30 minutes to load up. Half an hour. That's a long time. And on Xbox, it would be like, this game is taking too long to start, and you had to like clear reserve space, and then 2K came out with a statement saying you shouldn't do that, and then some people's players were getting deleted. Like, it was just a huge mess. Like, one of the biggest problems any video game has ever had. We also got introduced to the archetype system. You know, we had Hall of Fame badges. Everybody would get 5. They also took really long to grind for. Anybody could get any bronze badge, and this resulted in archetypes such as glass cleaners or athletic finishers or whatever, just being able to shoot 3s. And we also had the animation glitch, which was as close to the demigod glitch as we're probably ever going to get, hopefully. But basically, you could buy any animation and put it on any player. So you could be like a stretch big 7'3", because remember they had archetypes in the game, and just put all these point guard dribble moves on him. So basically at that point, a 7'3" point guard. You also had a grand badge, which would activate based on your archetype. The dribbling system was amazing, arguably the best dribbling system in any 2K ever. Speed boosting was back in the game, and also you could see your badges being activated while you were playing in the park. But unfortunately, with the archetypes, the gameplay got worse and the skill gap did get reduced. 2K made one of the biggest mistakes ever, which was speed boosting sharpshooters. It was a terrible idea. Everybody just ended up making them. You know, it didn't take that much skill. They tried to patch it one weekend, but because they weren't paying attention to the community, everybody already made one and it was too late. Everybody got so mad at them, so they had to actually unpatch them. So the meta was just speed boosting sharpshooters hiding behind Hall of Fame brick wall screens until somebody would fall down and then they would just shoot a 3. Or on 2s, it would just be stretch bigs spamming the BB glitch. And if you guys don't know what that is, it's like when you just keep going back and forth super fast way too unrealistically fast, like behind the person that's inbounding the ball until you get a little bit open and you get the ball, catch and shoot it. It was also the introduction of custom jump shots. That was the first time we got to see it in the game. I played this on both consoles. I played it less than 2K16, and unfortunately it was a big step down from 2K16. A lot of people didn't like it, but because 2K16 was so good, it actually was like the most hyped and juiced 2K. Like, so many people were watching it and a lot of people were playing it. All right, next we have NBA 2K18. It hurts for me to just talk about this game. I'm not gonna lie. The game was so bad. It's the worst 2K of all time. I mean that. It's so bad. They released a trailer with the neighborhood and the park, and people legitimately thought it was gonna be the best 2K of all time because it was like GTA. Like, you could just walk around this neighborhood, completely open world, and then you could go in the park and play with your friends. I'm not gonna lie, it was innovative. And they also changed the name of park. It wasn't actually officially named Mypark anymore. It was the neighborhood, which was, you know, all the stuff you would walk around, all the stores and stuff like that, and then the part you would play would be the playground. So like I said, people thought it was gonna be so good. People actually thought it was gonna be the best 2K ever, but it ended up being the worst. There was one park, they never ended up giving us any new parks, and it was the most gray, dry park ever. It was terrible. They brought Mountain Dew back, but it was half-court threes. They made house rules a separate park, and they also made it so there was a wheel that would spin, and the rules would be different for every game. They added ruffles. It was decent, but it had a lot of matchmaking issues. And on top of that, we were bombarded with microtransactions, with spending VC on pretty much anything you wanted to do in the game. Clothes and shoes were getting really expensive. You had to pay to get your hair cut. Like, it was getting bad. The neighborhood seemed like a good idea, but once you really got to play it, it was just terrible in terms of function. You had to walk around everywhere just to do certain things. Like, for example, if you wanted to change your clothes, you had to go from the playground to the neighborhood all the way to your my court. Then you had to go up in your my court, watch a cutscene, go to your closet, change your clothes, go back in the elevator, go down, watch another cutscene, and go back into the park. So yeah, we had unskippable cutscenes as well. But we did get some good out of it. You know, it was the first 2K with dual archetypes. It was actually a good idea. It was just executed terribly. You got to grind your badges and park. You got to see your badge progress, but unfortunately what came with that was the road to 99, and it made park so dry. It was getting really bad. Basically, if you wanted to rep up at a decent rate, because they took out the whole rep system that was supposed to replace the rep system, you had to play my career. You had to play against bots. You couldn't play against real people. You couldn't play park, so a lot of people stopped playing park. But on top of that, the rep rewards you would get for the road to 99 weren't even good. You know, they took out mascots, they took out tigers, they took out jetpacks, they took out pretty much everything we liked. At 97, you would get like gold clothes. Like, what? The only decent thing is that at 99 you got a badge that would upgrade all of your other badges by 1 tier, and if you were on the first ones you would actually get free shoes from them, like in real life shoes. Also, with the dual archetypes, everybody had, you know, their own badges that they could get, so it's not like you could get any bronze badge or any gold badge. Everybody had a specific list of badges that they could get at certain tiers. And of course, the animation glitch was back in the game. Yeah, and there was not one but 2 of them. They tried to patch the first one, and then we came out with the second one. Honestly, I don't even know if they knew if that was in the game. Like, there was a second animation glitch, but that lasted the whole year. So again, you have these 7'3" point guards, and the gameplay, the gameplay, don't even get me started. The gameplay was so bad. The movement system was terrible. Everybody would just get blow-bys and snatchbacks. Everything in the gameplay was just worse. The dribbling was worse. There was like no skill gap at all, and the meta was literally stretch bigs shooting smothered shots, and they would go in. Okay, not smothered every time, but like contested shots, and they would go in every time. There was no skill gap left in the game. There was not a huge meta on twos, but you know, there was just so much. I don't even want to go through all of it. So much stuff that you could do that took no skill just to win on twos. This was by far the worst 2K ever and the worst Mypark ever. So many people stopped playing it. A lot of people barely played it. Like, I barely played it. I had just over 1,000 park games played the whole year. It was just a terrible year for 2K, and people were questioning, like, why did 2K do what they did? Why did they do this? Is Mypark ever gonna be the same? Is it ever gonna get any better? And then we got NBA 2K19. This was like the rebirth of 2K. It's the first time in 3 years that the current 2K is better than the last one. There are like 30 parks in the game. Well, there's like 1 park, so the background is all the same, the 1 neighborhood. You still have the same stores and stuff, but in terms of the courts, it changes pretty much multiple times every week. There's a new park event. We haven't even got to see all 30 of the parks, but there are a lot of them. You know, all of them are unique. There's a whole bunch of different park events. You have Reese's, Ruffles, Protect the House, Block Party, Dime Time, 5v5, Court Conqueror. There are so many different ones. I probably missed a couple as well, and this is just like 6 weeks into the game. Like, there are so many other park events that we haven't seen. 2K really stepped it up this year. They really tried. The neighborhood and the park are now all integrated into one server, and like the neighborhood is all surrounding the park, so the courts are all in the middle and all the stores are surrounding it. This game was also hyped up a lot, but it actually did live up to some of the hype. I mean, some people were saying, yo, it's automatically the best 2K ever. I don't know about that, but it is a good game. They put some effort into the park. You know, it's colorful. It's not just gray anymore. It goes from night to day. It's like a constant cycle. The rec center is back, but it's not really the rec center. It's basically walk-on pro on for 2K16. It's matchmaking. You're wearing jerseys. You've got the cages. You know, honestly, it's where all the bums play, but it's a really arcade kind of game mode within 2K19. The rep rewards are definitely better, but unfortunately, Road to 99 is back, so a lot of people are not playing Park. You know, they're playing Micro because, again, and I think it's even worse than last year, if you want to rep up at a decent rate, you have to play Micro. You have to play against robots. They did give us a rep system for the park, you know, amateur, pro, elite. You have 3 tiers for each, but you don't get any rep rewards for any of them, so it's basically pointless. You've got the daily spin, which is now in a separate building where you can spin a wheel every day and win something. You have the stage up there 24/7. The neighborhood this year is just overall a great design. Mascots are back. We recently got to see that. You know, you have the football, you have a hoverboard, skateboards are back. You have like scooters, beach cruisers, bikes. Unfortunately, you can't use most of those in the actual park. You got a bunch of new clothes, you know, clothes that drop on a limited basis and clothes that you can only get for winning specific park events. Dual archetypes are back, but they actually did it pretty well this year. It's basically the same as last year, but they reworked some of the badges and some of the attributes. You also have takeover, which is basically kind of like a grand badge. You know, you get it based on your archetype. You can activate it whenever you want, and it gives you boost to all of your attributes. Again, unfortunately, bombarded by microtransactions. Like, they did it more than anything this year. Like, you had to pay $100 if you wanted to get the game when everybody else did. And on top of that, you had to pay like $50 to upgrade your player. And all the rep rewards are extremely expensive. Like, mascots are 300K. Like, it costs more to get a mascot than it does to get the actual game. But they fixed a lot of the problems that they did in 2K18. You know, the game is still generally based off 2K18, but they fixed everything we were pretty much complaining about. The movement system is definitely way better. They increased the skill gap a lot, you know, low-key. They're lowering it a little bit every day. I'm not going to talk too much about that in this video, but in general, the skill gap is higher. The general meta is a pure shot creator hiding behind screens on the 2s, you know, using about 10 of them before he takes a fading, contested, moving shot and making it every time. And on the 3s, it is pure sharpshooters who wiggle behind screens. There you go, screens again. Just going back and forth behind the screen until I get a little bit of an opening, and they shoot it and make it every time. Now, but on a serious note, the metas are kind of bad this year. You know, it doesn't take too much skill, especially compared to some other 2Ks. But for some reason this year, everybody is scared to play each other. Like, it's never been a thing in 2K where everybody would just go up to your court, check your win percentage, let's see, 90 win percentage, we're not playing him. I don't know where that came from, but that's a thing this year. But there's always something going on in the park, you know, whether it's a park event, there's dodgeball, red ball, blue ball, there's trivia every day. There are some problems though, like, you know, again, the whole My Career thing, people are basically forced to play My Career. They don't let enough people in the parks. You can't see your own win streak. But overall, this is a good 2K. You know, I've played it more than pretty much any other 2K to start. I don't know if it's going to end up being more than 2K16 for me. I'm really glad that 2K did step it up this year. I'm sure a lot of people are too, because a lot of people just completely stopped playing 2K when it was 2K18. If you were to ask me to rank all of the 2Ks, starting from 16, because that's when I first really started playing, I would rank it 2K16 first, 2K19 second, 2K17 third, and 2K18 fourth. Let me know in the comments what your favorite 2K is that had Mypark. Like I said, mine is 2K16, but that is it for the video, man. As you guys can see, there have been so many different things in every 2K with Mypark. The mode itself has changed a lot, and I'm excited to see what they do for the rest of the year. Again, make sure you drop a like down below if you haven't already. We're going for 1,000 likes. If you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe and turn on notifications to join the family. You guys don't want to miss any more daily 2K19 content. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.